Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Good evening and welcome to an A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. I'm your host, Minister A.H.A.D, and with me have our round table panel as always, Brother Fakir Abdul Aziz, Lord Holy-Apostle Deen and Holy Queen Mother Rabbi Saleem. May Ahezaah's peace and another blessing be with him by everyone's presence.
May Ahezaah's peace and other blessings.
And always we like to wish the Lord's peace and other blessing be with him about those A.H.A.D viewers and that watch this program this evening. I want to pose a question before we get the program started. I was discussing with my brother here and Holy Queen about how people of religion and people in the world in general always speak about the Lord as if they know the Lord personally, you know, and like that with it. And Ahezaah gave the message a pamphlet some years ago concerning how do you know that Ahezaah or the Lord is real today? And many people know the Lord only by the blessings that they received of the good, but they don't know the Lord itself. Then Ahezaah blessed us to meet one, or blessed myself to meet one who speaks with the Lord and to the Lord and speaks with certainty. And I look back in my life, you know, upon meeting the Holy Apostle and how in professing of many of the things that the Lord, I know we say the Lord is here and present and now, but at the time coming up, I would look outside in the universes of things and creation and try to find my place in this creation. What is my purpose and what is my for being here? And upon meeting the messenger, and speaking with him and hearing the Lord's wisdom come through him gave me a greater understanding from Ahezaah how, from his perspective and from our perspective on the other side of that coin, how we only have the beginning stages of belief. We haven't come into the faith or the trust of it yet. But in reading the words and reading his holy books now, Ahezaah is manifesting its signs of how it makes me laugh sometimes and makes me cry about seeing myself as not of that stage or that level of belief yet or of trust yet, but striving on the path. So I want those who watch the program, as we discuss on this evening, think about that as we have discussion on this panel. You know, anyone?
Well, in that we came to like the importance of self-reflection and how you gotta start looking inward as opposed to looking at the universe outward. You know, trying to find your place out there, and it's too large and it's too complex and it's too ever changing for us to have a grasp of it. You know, in that way, but not recognizing that there is in fact a universe within. There's a universe within that we haven't even began as individuals to begin to address, you know, to look at, you know, and looking for that supreme and glorious, almighty and all-encompassing Lord of all worlds, you know, who is the creator of the without and the within, you know, where your connection most exists, you know, your most immediate understanding is there. That's one of the striking things of a number of things that we talked about, you know, in determining how do you know that your Lord is real. You know, your Lord makes you know that it's real, and it's on us and being lost and looking for the outer things, thinking that we have a grasp or we have the command or the ability to find the Lord. You know, and instead of having Ahezaah reveal itself for us. You know, and being patient. That was one of the things we talked about, the purpose of and the importance of patience. You know, waiting for the Lord to come.
You know, a religion sometimes is mapped out to be very complicated, and people never really sit back. You know, like the Holy Apostle put that newsletter out. Ahezaah caused him to put that newsletter out because people never sit back. Well, how do I know that the Lord is real? And you have two sets of extremes in religious practice. You have, on most of the time, I say, because this is just something that I encounter as a young person growing up. The Christian relates to the Lord being real by the blessing it receives.
Right.
They receive from the Lord Most High. That's the way they relate.
That they receive from the world.
Right.
Right.
The goods of this world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Muslim relate in the Lord being real in their aspect of because Prophet Muhammad said so. You know, and people don't go, and just like the question was proposed, how do you as an individual,
that was the whole thing, right?
You know, in your darkest quiet moment, how do you know that the Lord is real? And, you know, I used to put things and give it to us in the simplest, manifest things to us in the simplest ways to know that it is real. But we all have this tendency to look for some big, great happening, you know, and like the brother was saying that the Lord makes him laugh and the Lord makes him cry. And the thing I realize is that when you seek Ahezaah, for real, with no selfish intent, that's when it makes you aware. See, it always manifests to you, always manifested to mankind. But mankind never takes time to sit back and observe that it's manifesting to you. So what happens is when you sit back and you divorce yourself from your selfishness and really seek to know that the Lord is real, you will see the littlest things that have transpired in your life that you can say, wow, the Lord did this, the Lord did that, the Lord is really here, present, the Lord hear me. Like people say, the Lord hears your prayers, and people be like, oh, the Lord don't hear my prayers. Well, if the Lord bless you to win that $1 million, he heard your prayers. But if the Lord don't bless you to win that $1 million, did it hear you? Yeah, it heard you. But what are you looking for? You're looking for the big thing. So I know that, you know, with the questions that Ahezaah has placed out here for people, it's really for them as individuals to get away from everything else and seek to find, to allow the Lord to manifest to them clearly how it is so personal to them and so real. As you know, Ahezaah saying, Quran, that I am closer to you than you are to your jugular vein. And a lot of people can't relate to that. And one time I said, well, what do Ahezaah mean? You know, your jugular vein. And it took me to go through experience and separate myself and realize how close Ahezaah is to us. You know, more closer to our jugular vein. Ahezaah, we are of Ahezaah, you know. And if you are of something, then of course it's closer to you than your jugular vein. But we get caught up into the science of blood and hearts and things of that nature. But if you go beyond that, you know that the only way you exist is that Ahezaah is real.
Let me say this here. I like to refer to our inner beings as worlds. When we talk about, you know, Ahezaah being Lord of all the worlds. And you use the terminology universe within, you know. So since you use that terminology, a universe within, let me just break this thing down. With the Lord Most High, it manifests in verses to us. Uni meaning one. One verse within. One verse of creation. The one verse. And it's not so much important for the Lord to hear us as it is for us to hear it in its verses. You see? So if we come to it under the verse of its commandments, then in that way we become right with it. And then it opened up many other verses, like the opening of the Holy Quran. The opening of the Holy Quran, because of its verse to me, it caused me to know through its verses that wasn't the opening of that book. That was the opening of worlds. The worlds within me that is connected with that verse, those verses, that one that is versed. And the Lord said in the beginning to creation, be. That was a verse for everything to be, and all was. All became by its word. Most people don't understand how things can come by its word. The life that it put in a thing, and it connects it by its word, and that thing come into being, therefore it is. You see? So everything works under its law. If it says that's how it came into being by its word, then that's how it came into being. There's nothing that can judge it. There's nothing that is above it that can rule it. There's nothing that can say, no, that's not how it's done. Right. It said, I said be, and it was. It became. To be is what? In verse. To exist. It said exist. And when it said exist, it breathed its spirit and its essence of life in it and gave it power in that. Its word is power. See, it is life. When it said that I am that which I am, it was saying that I am power, I am action, I am alive, I am movement, I am vibration, I am all. You see, and we have that one verse inside of us, and we are in that one verse of all the verses of the one, all the universes of the one. The whole creation of all creations is by its words, by its verses. Now, when you go into meditation and you trying to come to the reality of the enlightenment, when you trying to come to the dome of the free, which is the freedom, the freedom, the free, which is the L itself. Right. You do what? You try to empty yourself out to become of its verses, right, of its words, so that you could die of yourself and of this world to live in its word, to live in the power of its word. Right. People say that Jesus was the only begotten Son of the Lord. Long before Jesus was ever alive, there were men who claimed to be sons and daughters of the Lord. So how is it that Jesus became the only begotten one? Because some devil wanted to make him be over the other people. So what did they do with Muhammad? The Muslims tried to exalt Muhammad over Jesus, to say that he is due Allah's praise.
By the way they defined his name. Yeah.
By the way they defined his name. Muhammad, one worthy of praise. When Muhammad said over and over, Allah is the only one and the only thing worthy of praise. And then they come and say, well, Muhammad is worthy of praise. And just like Muhammad would curse them for saying that he is worthy of praise, knowing that all praise is due to Allah, because Allah is the one versed of all things, the master, the originator of all things, and all is by its word. The Christians would be cursed by Jesus for saying he is the begotten of that thing that begets nothing. That thing is beyond everything that is, that impossible, ubiquitous being that nothing is like and nothing could ever be like. The real power of all within and all outside of each thing, and the one that has no outside to itself. Right. Huh?
True indeed. I used to manifest that thing, you know, I said, I think back now to the beginning stages of coming to this way of life we call the community of A.H.A.D. And upon leaving the Muslim communities that I've known, and this truth, when the one thing about Ahezaah's word from what I experience now, is that when Ahezaah called this message to speak to you, it goes in and cuts to like the two-edged sword that speaks about the revelations about you. It goes in and cuts to the heart of the soul of a matter, the inner core. Whether we put a facade outside of ourselves, your inner being call you to the right and to the truth, and it either gonna bear witness for you or against you inwardly. And people who don't have the experience that don't know what they're missing, because that's when I said the Lord, I laugh when I read the holy books and cry, because Ahezaah opened the world to me up. I said, oh Allah, I am not there yet. When he explains to us that the book is only for the believers, I was like, wait a minute. Because every person of religion believes they are a believer. In the Bible, the Quran, whatever book they profess, they all say they believers. Then Ahezaah left something in the Quran with something so simple when he told them, we talking about the Muslims. Don't say you believe, just say you submit. Because you don't know what true faith is yet. Until Ahezaah explained to us that it is the true and it is the faith, I said, boy, the world of religion is backwards. They living in the outer world thinking that they are of the Lord. I said, boy, they got a lesson of almost got to be broken down and reformed again, as he explains to us now, of its way of life, which is the religion. You know,
what they miss is what Holy Queen Mother was alluding to is the simplicity of religion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they get so complicated.
Yeah.
You know, like for instance, I had an individual tell me once that if you miss your prayer time, you could never get that time back again. You would lose that forever. You know, and there would be a mark against you. And I just looked at this individual and said, where they get that from? You know, this person stopped their car on the highway. No, didn't stop it. Forgive me. Was driving on the highway and started making prayer. Closed her eyes, took her hands off the steering wheel and said, it's time for prayer. I said, this woman is crazy. Huh? Yeah. Going overboard. Complicating the religion. Some people think that the end of all in prayer and the end of all in religion is making it to the prayer carpet 5 times a day, doing the exercise of bowing down, putting your knees and your hands and your head on the ground. Huh? When Allah itself does not emphasize prayer as much as it emphasizes remembrance of it in the Holy Quran. So you have people running around forgetting it all day until somebody calls them to prayer. And they think that's the most important thing. Oh, they call me, it's time to pray. And then they go back to forgetting in between the times it's called to prayer. When the most important thing is to remember it.
Yeah.
Remember it in all your actions. To remember, to rejoin yourself as a member to its being, to become one with its verse again, its verses, to live and walk and breathe in the essence of its words, huh? And throughout the day, and make that bowing down those rakahs, make that be the least of your worship and the least of your prayers, huh? Yeah, you think about it.
You know me, I don't like to quote things from Quran because I'm not going to say it verbatim, but in Quran it does say that one of the best prayers that you can have if you break your sleep.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
And make that prayer. And a lot of people, because they are involved in that 5-time daily call to prayer, because they feel like all the Muslims is doing it and what have you, they really overlook that. And I know that there is so much, it's such a good blessing when you could break your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Sacrifice that sleep that you really want to have.
That's something,
and
you know,
go and read Quran and read the holy books.
But think about this.
And make your prayers. And like we said, how do you know Ahezaah is real? Ahezaah gives you so many open windows to it. When the world is still and everybody else, man, you'd be surprised with the things that you could encounter when you divorce yourself from all those daily activities in your mind and in your actions.
Including spiritual intoxication, for those of you who like to get intoxicated. Because the Lord says stay away from intoxicants of the mind, so, you know, it will intoxicate you with the love of it and the spirit of it if you be right with it in your studies. But like you said, it spoke about the greater prayers when you get up out of your sleep. What is it talking about? It's not talking about your prayer. It's talking about your remembrance of it. Remember it and get out of your sleep. Huh? It's not so much that you get up and make them rakahs, it's that you get up and remember. Rejoin yourself to it. In the middle of the night when you're doing one of the things that you love best, most of the humanity love best, is sleeping.
Sacrifice. Yeah, he's a great man.
And it says, sacrifice that which you hold dear to yourself and come unto me. Come to me. Come out of your sleep and remember me.
the call to prayer that the Muslims make, they don't even understand. Allah said prayer is better than sleep.
Prayer is better
They
than
never
sleep.
understand. The Ahezaah opened that up, you know. And Allah says, what in the Quran so beautifully? Those who remember me sitting and reclining. The people look at that. It ain't just physically sitting in the chair, but in every action, back to the Holy Apostle saying you doing, it's part of your remembrance. And all that you do. I said, Ahezaah.
Your praise of the Lord should be your actions,
Yes.
Well,
your work,
Well,
your deeds throughout the day.
Right.
Huh?
Just, and I won't try to quote exactly, but from the newsletter you wrote, Holy Apostle, and the paraphrase it, a part that said, you're mindful of Ahezaah, you're mindful of Ahezaah in your sitting, and in your standing, and in your kneeling, and in your riding, and in your working, and in your driving. And what struck me is that in all other forms of prostration before your Lord. You know? So like whatever state that you're in or whatever you're doing, you're in the form of prostrating before the Ahezaah, before your Lord. You know, like I'm doing this for you. This is my work.
Part of them
This is
breaking
yours. Yes.
Part of breaking the seals of the Ahezaah having the messenger here, man. When Ahezaah brought that realization that you will always before the throne of Ahezaah.
Yes, that's what I was
was
about
a
to
great
say.
world over Ahezaah.
Yeah.
Where was Ahezaah not?
Yeah, because see, sometimes, most of the times, people think that they're not before the Lord until they get to their prayer carpet.
Right.
Then they think the Lord is paying attention to them. Or more importantly to themselves, more importantly, the angels is now with them on each side paying attention. When all that's always happening.
Right.
Everywhere you go, no matter which way you turn, you stand before the throne of the Lord, because the throne is its creation.
Yeah.
Its throne is greater than the creation. The throne is its power, a sign of its power, a sign of its unseen presence. It is, like I said, it is impossibly ubiquitous.
Yeah.
It is in all particles of being, individualized, individually aware, in all those particles of being, individually controlling every single thing. Now that's impossible. It is the impossible thing.
Yeah.
And for you to try to fathom how it does it, you be out your mind. You be like Einstein, can't tie your shoes, but you can throw all them numbers up.
And let me tell you, Ahezaah is so funny because we're sitting up here talking. I've thought about my grandmother. My grandmother believed in reading the Bible, believed in making her prayers and everything. But my grandmother would never go to church. And I remember one time I said, Grandma, why you don't go to church? You know, because her family went to church. She said, I ain't going up in that church with all them hypocrites and this, that, and the other. And I said to myself, oh, Grandma, you a hypocrite. But Ahezaah blessed me. You know, Ahezaah gives you signs and teaches you a lot. Just listening to what people say. And I remember in Quran, Ahezaah say, be of those who believe as you believe. Right. And, you know, you can read Quran and certain things you may not fully understand at the time. Sometimes I think one of the worst things we do, we read something, we think we really understand what we read.
Understanding is a growth process.
Right.
Yes.
And so we don't revisit it, you know, in our mind. We don't never revisit it. So we close the door to that understanding. That's how I feel about it. And I know that over the past few months, I've just thought about people that I interact with and things of that nature. And I said, wow, I understand what Ahezaah means. See, people think going together and congregate because people say, I love the Lord and this, that, and the other. You may be sitting next to a person that may have what they consider love for the Lord, but may have hatred for you. You understand? So is Ahezaah saying, be of the company of those who believe as you believe. You can't love Ahezaah and then sit next to someone that hates you and claim that love for that person too, because that person said that they believe. See, believers think that if they congregate together, that's because they all believe in this fatherly love and things of that nature. But it's a danger in taking company. And I realize that when you seek to serve Ahezaah and you recognize Ahezaah present, you're in the company of the angels, the unseen, those who that Ahezaah caused to surround you and protect you. And those are those who believe as you believe. And then if you're blessed in this day and time, like we've been blessed, when we're around the messenger, we know that we're in the company of the one who believes as we seek to believe.
That's,
you understand what I'm saying?
Difference,
so being in that present with someone who seek to believe, you know, us seeking to believe and being in the presence of that one who believes, it causes us to gain that which you should gain, and being in the company of those who believe, as you supposed to believe.
Go ahead.
You know, one of the problems with the population in general, regardless of what faith they're about, is they're congregating.
Yes.
You know, they have taken a religion and flipped it inside out, where the congregating and the great numbers are more important to them than the individual who's going to be on the path alone, getting to the Creator El alone, going to judgment in the passing of this life alone. You understand? That's what the religion is all about. Each individual is a world within himself. Each individual is inwardly divided. Huh?
Yeah.
An entity, an actuality of life, a community of beings within oneself. You see, and if anybody, those of us who get on the path and start seeking to find and understand the reality of our own selves, we will come to a knowledge, to an awareness, to an experience that we are inwardly divided.
Yeah.
It's those who don't get on this path properly, who like to congregate and be led by the thoughts of others.
Yeah.
Not to come to the reality themselves, but to come to somebody else's opinion of the reality and say, this is it. They never go in and open up themselves to see the divisions within themselves that they need to organize, the beings of themselves that they need to organize and put Allah first before all those things. Yes. If you go down, just break down your organs, you know, those are individuals, you know. And I know people might find it hard to understand what I'm saying when I say that, but the heart has a place where it operates, and it can operate without the mind. And if you don't believe me, cut off somebody's head, and I guarantee you'll see that their heart has not just stopped. Huh? We, in every particle of our being, there is a mind. Now, the reason I say that is because the Creator is the mind of everything. Right. And if you don't believe that, with your soul, people think the spirit is the soul, but the soul is something totally different from the spirit. It's totally different from the vibrations. It's totally different from your emotions. It sends the spirit down from it in the commands of the Lord to speak to man, the host of each man, through its voice. The spirit it carries the voice of the soul.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you